You're listening to Loud on the Set with Kyle and James. It's gonna be a whale of a time. And action!
All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Kyle.
This is James.
And today we are going to be talking about something really special on our podcast. Now, if you missed our first podcast, definitely check it out. We gave Jurassic World some constructive criticism.
We tore a new asshole.
But today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. We're not going to be reviewing a movie, but what we are going to be doing is we're going to be talking about our earliest memories in the cinema and some of our best and worst memories in the cinema. So not rentals, going to the movies and how special that is.
Absolutely. We know it's a special place, everything about it, the setting, the snack bar, the movie itself, the people you're with. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. So this is going to be part of, getting to know us a little bit. So this is going to be a fun day. So James, let's start with you. So you're from Coney Island, New York, for people that don't remember, and I'm sure you got a lot of stories. You actually worked for a movie theater as well, did you not?
I've worked for 2 movie theaters at certain points in my life, and we'll talk about those later. Because they play into some of my experiences when we get to best and worst.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
So start with some of your earliest memories. What are your earliest film memories?
Okay, I have 2. The first one is E.T. Okay, and you know how it is, Kyle. You're young and we have spotty memory at a certain age because our brains haven't fully formed. We're both students of biology. We know this.
We know this.
But I do remember being in the theater watching E.T. And some things about E.T. really fucking traumatized me. I mean, great movie. It's a classic. We all love it. But holy cow, being too young to understand certain things really freaked me out. For example, E.T. getting drunk because of his connection with Elliot. I didn't know what the fuck was happening.
I remember
I was
being
totally
confused by that as well.
And certain little things like E.T. getting hit by the fridge door and getting knocked down to the kitchen floor. Like that, I was hurt by that. I didn't think it was funny. Like, I'm pretty sure it's meant to be slapsticky, Yeah. Anyway, I remember that very vaguely, and I remember that very clearly. Jesus. Fucking dumb half of this podcast right here. I also was very much traumatized by everything surrounding the story of E.T. dying. Holy shit. His skin changing color, his unresponsiveness. And I want to send a message out to the makers of that movie, Spielberg et al. Your work with hazmat suits is truly traumatizing. Because I didn't know what a hazmat suit was either. And so when they come to snatch up E.T., they looked like fucking aliens themselves.
They certainly did.
Scared the shit out of me. Mission accomplished. Kyle, what else you got?
So one of my earliest, probably the most early film memory I can have, is going to the drive-thru movie, which counts for this. It's the cinema experience. So going to the drive-thru, I was seeing Toy Story 1. First Toy Story that came out, and I was a little kid. I had my my Buzz Lightyear doll with me, and I was watching the movie, and I guessed that I had seen it before. I have to have seen it before because I had the Buzz Lightyear where you push the buttons on his chest, and he said those amazing phrases from the film. And I was sitting there, and I was timing it with the movie. So whenever he was about to say the phrase, I would push the button so it would match up perfectly. And it was like everything came to life in my hands, and I was watching this movie, and just such a strong connection, like that memory just sticks in my mind, and I definitely fell in love with that whole film process from seeing that. So that was you had some scary memories, but that was one of my good memories. Nice. So what else do you got? What else do you remember?
Well, my second movie on my list of earliest memories is Ghostbusters.
Oh, excellent.
One of my all-time favorite comedies. We'll talk about that in some future date. Comedies, right?
Comedies.
But Ghostbusters, I remember being a little kid. I remember being taken to the theater and sitting there watching it. And, being young, I had no idea that it was a comedy. I thought it was a movie about ghosts, I had no idea it was funny and had adult humor. I do remember being completely blown away by the special effects. When that proton pack kicked on for the first time, and it toasted that hallway in the hotel room and the service cart. Holy shit, the sound in the theater was explosive. It was so loud. I was blown away. So the special effects were incredible. And I also remember being freaked out quite a bit by Slimer when he comes flying down the hallway because he's pissed off at Venkman. Again, I didn't laugh. Like the adults are probably like, this is great, how goofy. Wow. Ghostbusters and E.T., those are my two. Kyle, what do you got next?
Interesting. I got seeing Star Wars in the theater.
Oh, yeah.
And I know what you're saying. I just mentioned I saw Toy Story when it was released as a kid. This is the Star Wars re-release in the theater. So this was the original cut of the films being re-released in the theater, and boy, am I glad I saw him in that state before the Chop Shop program that's happened with them since then. But that's a whole entirely other podcast. But the Star Wars re-release just absolutely solidified the love I have for Star Wars. And right after that, I launched out, got my VHS set, and just wore them out. And I've been watching that same VHS set ever since. Those are the only ones I'll watch. Got some smarts up here. I'm not tainting my childhood memories with your garbage anymore.
Oh.
No more edits.
Yeah, please.
Anyway.
Please.
Okay. Going forward. So some of our earliest memories. Okay, so looking back on everything, going to the movie is really special.
Absolutely.
There's something about it. Actually, everything about it. You got friends, you got concessions, it's dark, it's fun, there's a lot of people there. You get a big crowd reactions and things. So what are some of your best memories in the theater? They can be recent, they can be far back. What are some of your best memories?
Okay, well, without getting into the details of some of my best memories, Kyle, huh? You know what I'm talking about? All right.
With the movie.
Anyway, all right.
Film, yeah.
Maybe that's not a future podcast.
That might not be a future podcast.
Anyway, here are some things that come to mind. I remember the blast that I had seeing The Ring in the movies.
Oh, that's good.
Why? Because to me, there's nothing quite like a packed movie house for a horror movie that genuinely scares the living crap out of people. And I hope Kyle and I hope the listeners will agree, the moment that freaky little girl climbs out of the TV set straight at the protagonist of the movie, oh my God, the movie theater fell into a panic.
Just erupts.
It went crazy. Girls were screaming, guys were yelling. Oh my God, the Ring. Oh, that I'll never forget that. I had so much fun. I had so much fun. All right, next up, since I talked about horror, like my favorite horror moment, fun with the horror. Ones? I worked in a movie theater, as I mentioned earlier, and I remember the riot that Something About Mary caused.
Oh, nice.
Right? And I, of course, saw the movie and I loved it. I thought it was hysterical. I laughed. The hair gel scene. I worked as an usher, and I made sure to know exactly when the hair gel scene played because I knew that every single crowd was going to burst into outrageous laughter at that.
Wow,
and so I always made sure to poke my head in at Something About Mary. Oh, you got a little extra hair gel there. Oops. That was beautiful. Finally, I'm going to lump three more together.
Okay.
And they're very recent. And that is the complete satisfaction, the grin that I had leaving my face following Iron Man 1, Avengers 1, and Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Oh, nice.
Completely satisfied.
So you're a fan of the Marvel superhero movies?
Yes. Most of them. That's a future conversation. Well.
What about just for a quick thought, the DC comic films? Are you any comic movies, or are you a Marvel guy?
No, any comic movie. Yeah.
Okay,
any comic
excellent.
movie. I'm very much looking forward to Batman v Superman.
Oh, excellent. Okay.
Intense, right?
Yeah. So I loved seeing Iron Man in the theater. I thought that was amazing as well. Some of my best memories, I talked about the earliest ones. Those kind of got me into film. Those are really special, and I think they hold a good place in a lot of people's hearts that love movies. Those two are special. Mm-hmm. But recently, if we're talking about recent things, I think the development of 3D has been a double-edged sword in film. But when used well, I think that it has some real power. And the first film that I saw that incorporated that new kind of 3D technology, we're not talking about red blue glasses here.
Talk about Jaws 3.
Yeah, we're looking at the good stuff now. And when I went and saw Avatar in the theater, I have my own critical analysis of that movie, but the visuals and just seeing that was so awe-inspiring. It just total. If you were looking to transport yourself to someplace else, that was just a vessel to go do that. So that was really amazing.
I saw that as a $1 bootleg in Ecuador. On a screen about the size of your phone.
What were you doing in Ecuador?
Future podcast.
Okay. So then the Jurassic Park re-release in 3D was also kind of in the similar vein. It was one of the best movies of all time. Thanks, Jurassic World. And that stood out. And seeing that as a kid and then seeing it in the theater was really fun because all the lines that I missed, all the subtle plot that was going on I didn't understand when I was a kid, kind of like what you were talking about with E.T., was just veiled in that screenwriting. It was so brilliant. And when I finally got to see it there in the theater, something about watching it in the theater drew that out of it that I hadn't experienced when I just watched it on like a home cassette. So that was really fun.
Nice.
And then you were talking about surprises. When I watched The Departed, obviously, spoilers abound for our podcast, but near the end of that movie, everybody in there was just shocked and gasping at every point in time, and that was really fun. But what you said about, you've got a special place in your heart for these Marvel films and stuff, seeing James Bond, the new films that have come out, has been really awesome for me because I'm a big Bond fan, and this has been something really fun to see. So the James Bond movies that have been coming out have been really good.
Interesting. I've never seen a single James Bond movie.
Really?
Not one.
All right, well, we'll have to drag you through them. And
there's a new one coming out soon,
talk about that. There is. Yeah. It's going to be amazing.
Excellent.
So let's look at some of our worst memories.
Oh, boy.
There's good and bad, You're gambling when you're putting down your money. And as we know from our Jurassic World podcast. But what are some of your worst memories being in the theater?
Okay.
I'm sure you have a lot of work-related memories, but how about the films themselves, too?
Okay, well, yeah, we'll save my working experiences for some other time because, that's fun. I have a couple that actually don't have something to do with the movie. They have to do with the situation surrounding the movie. So bear with me, folks.
Yes.
And pun intended, because the first one involves gummy bears.
Oh, very good.
I went to go see a movie with my sister and a friend of mine. And, where I'm from is, kind of a tough area at times, right? I'm sure you can imagine. When I grew up there anyway, it wasn't cupcake shops and gentrification. It was still hard, right?
It was Coney Island, New York.
And so I don't even remember the movie, but I'm sitting there and a couple of kids, an aisle or two in front of us, are acting like complete jackasses. And my younger sister, who's just 1 year younger than me, decides that she's going to do something about it.
Oh, no.
And you know how it is if you're a bunch of guys and another bunch of guys and one girl starts something, that girl's problem just got transferred to you, right? My sister decides the best way to shut these kids up is to throw a bunch of gummy bears right at their heads.
Oh, what a waste of good gummy bears.
Yeah, and she pegged them. My sister could throw. She's got to know them. Sure enough, these kids turned around and looked at me. They're not going to look at her. And my sister just continued with the gummy bears in her mouth. What are you looking at? This, that, that. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get my ass kicked. But all right, I guess I got to fight. Don't worry about it. It didn't result in a fight. But you sit there anxious for the whole movie. Like, at the end, I have to leave the building,
Yeah.
All right, so that was pretty bad.
You got to sneak out.
Second one was, I went to see this movie called Stigmata. Have you ever heard of this movie?
I don't think so.
It dealt with a girl who was being sort of possessed by the spirit of Jesus. I don't know, some bullshit like that. Well, anyway, she starts demonstrating signs of the stigmata, meaning bleed where Jesus bled, and right? If you get the idea, I don't believe in any of that bullshit, right? But for some reason, the projector was making this noise the whole movie. This low, and it cycled through like that. And after about 60 minutes of this, I finally turned to my friend who's sitting next to me, and I went, yo, do you hear that? And he went, yes! Yes, what the fuck? Like, I felt like I was in some brain experiment. Like, they were trying to melt my brain with some sound waves or something. And it was the closest I've come to The Walkout.
Oh, The Walkout. Something we're definitely going to have an entire podcast devoted to.
Yeah.
But then you're saying you didn't walk out.
I did not. We'll get to that in a second. Finally, I'll wrap up my worst of list with simply by saying these 3 words, the title of the movie, What Women Want. Kyle, yeah, I got dragged to that. Thanks a lot, ex-girlfriend. You know who you are. Kyle, hit us with your worst.
Obviously, it obviously didn't hit a strong note with you then, I'm guessing.
No.
And you didn't walk out on that one either, even though it sounds like it wasn't a great experience.
You're on a date. What are you going to do?
I've actually never walked out of a movie either, so maybe we'll have to bring in somebody that has walked out of a movie. So we're looking at the worst films, and one of the worst ones that I've ever seen in the theater was an M. Night Shyamalan, an M. Night Shyamalan film.
Can't believe I'm correcting you.
The Village. He's got a lot of letters in there.
He does.
The Village I went and saw, and after being astounded by The Sixth Sense, I was keen to go see this, and I went to see it in the movie with my buddy, and nobody was in there. We were the only 2 people out of like 400 seats that bought, probably more, that bought tickets to this. So we started watching the movie for like 5 minutes, and just instantly I knew this was just some garbage. So we ended up playing tag for the rest of the time and running around and screaming, and it was ridiculous. But yeah, so we played tag in the movie theater because the movie was so garbage. So that's probably the least favorite one I've ever seen. Least favorite one I kind of paid attention to, unfortunately, the whole time was Larry the Cable Guy, Health Inspector.
What? You went and saw that?
Well, dragged to, as you mentioned before, with your girlfriend taking you to a movie, I got taken by some of my cousins that thought this would be a fun movie to see. And they are hilarious and amazing, and just apparently don't have the best taste in movies, because this was the worst. I just can't even believe there was an outlet for this. So anyway, Larry the Cable Guy, Health Inspector, everybody involved in that should never be allowed to work in film or TV or any sort of medium again. That's just terrible. But my least favorite movie experience that I've ever had nothing to do with the movie. As you mentioned before, those are where some of these fun experiences come from.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to see Shutter Island with this girl I had a thing for in college. She was awesome, and I wanted to go see this movie. And we had a date to go see it, and we were supposed to meet there. And, what do you know? She tells me that she can't make it tonight, and I'm already at the movie theater, so I went into brooding mode and started writing some music in my notebook and resigned to the fact that I was going to go see it by myself. Loserville. So I'm sitting there waiting in line for the movie, and Shutter Island is letting out ahead of me, so it's been, 2.5 hours or whatever. The previous movie's getting out, and who do I spy exiting the movie theater with some guy arm in arm? This girl who was supposed to go with me to the movie. And I saw her, and she saw me, and she mouthed hello, and I mouthed nothing, unfortunately. I wish that I could go back in time.
You should have mouthed, fuck you. That's what you should have mouthed. That's
very
easy to lip read right there. Right? Fuck you.
A lot of words after that, but that was my least. Then I had to sit through the whole movie with that taste in my mouth.
But wait, did you buy her a ticket? Did you buy 2 tickets?
No, I bought myself a ticket, and I was just waiting there. And I was going to buy hers when she showed up, which she didn't, because she was already there with some other guy.
Well, you know what? She regrets it now, Kyle.
I'm sure she does.
She regrets it. Shutter Island, has nothing to do with the movie. We apologize to the movie makers. Well, no, we don't. Fuck that. I don't apologize to anybody. But you're in a good place, man.
Yeah.
She's the loser.
Right.
You're not a loser.
Thanks, James.
Fuck her.
I appreciate it. Well,
Nice.
that brings us to our close here today. So obviously, the fun of going to see these movies is that when you see them in the theater, they've got all these experiences. It's a fun night out. I love going to see movies. You love going to see movies.
Absolutely.
We go and see them by ourselves. We go and see them with people. Seeing a good movie holds a lasting impression, so it's a lot of fun. Any final thoughts on this?
Well, just that we got plenty more stories like this coming up. You've heard that I've worked in movie theaters. You've heard Kyle that stood up going in to see certain movies, and hopefully we'll have some more fun stories like that for you guys.
I'm sure we will. I want to hear about this Ecuador experience you had very, very soon. So we'll get to those.
Teasers.
We'll get to those all. But thank you guys for listening. Tune in. Stay tuned. We got a lot of fun stuff coming in. Again, if you are just joining us today for the first time, check out our first podcast on Jurassic World. Spielberg, you've done great. You left lasting impressions in James' mind from E.T., but boy, you gotta check that out. All right, well, thank you guys for joining us today, and we will see you again next time.
See you later.
And cut.